Namaste, and welcome to Acharya Shunya's podcast, Shadow to Self, a show created to inspire you to step out of fear and darkness into a place of freedom and empowerment. In each episode, she'll explore humanity's deepest questions about your relationship with yourself and others, illuminated by the ancient and non-dual wisdom of the Vedas, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. Keep listening.
If your path feels heavy, slow, or lifeless, you're not just stuck. You may be frozen, not forever, not until real yoga begins to do its real work. You may be doing all the right practices, asana, chanting, breathing, but still feel numb, confused, unable to move forward. That's because 5 ancient glaciers are holding you back. You may not see them at first, but you feel their weight. They are heavy, cold, old, and odd. They slow your joy, they distort your vision, and they keep the real you from you, locked beneath layers of ice. And these glaciers, they have names. In yoga philosophy, especially the Yoga Sutras, we call them Klesha, the afflictions. They aren't your fault, but they are your work. When we get involved in the real yoga beyond the asana, then we roll up our sleeves and we confront these kleshas. Because yoga isn't here to decorate our life and make us feel good, lose a couple of pounds and maybe flex a few muscles. It's here to melt these glaciers. That's why I say yoga must burn again. Not all at once, but steadily and surely. Because when these glaciers begin to thaw, the real self, the amazing self, begins to flow. And isn't yoga all about union with this self? Then what are we waiting for? The Kleshas are 5, and they have beautiful names. Avidyā, Asmitā, Rāga, Dveṣa, Abhiniveśa. But until these 5 melt, beautiful name or not, we cannot melt the illusions that are holding us back. So let's look at Glacier 1, Avidyā, the glacier of mistaken identity. Yoga Sutra chapter 2 verse 5 tells us that we are all carrying around this cold, frozen, deep existential confusion of mistaken identity known as Avidyā. We mistake the impermanent for permanent, the impure for pure, the painful for pleasure, and the non-self, the body, for the self. Thanks to Avidyā, we're all going around thinking, I am this body, I am this trauma, I am this role, I am this story. But here is what the real yoga teachings are about, that you are never the body, never the mind. You are the pure awareness, the seer, the observer that is watching all this. You are not your childhood wound. You're not your resume. You're not your nervous system. You're not even your brilliant intellect. This glacier melts with the fire of discernment, with a quiet inner voice that whispers, I am watching this thought, so I am not the thought. I'm observing how this trauma feels, so I am not the trauma or the feeling. I am the observer. knowledge of this self, the true self, and the discernment that we need to melt the glacier of Avidyā is to be found in the yoga of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, imparted by the Bhagavad Gita, imparted by the Upanishads. This yoga must not be laid aside merely for downward dogs. It is important to connect with the true self that was never hurt, never born, never broken, and shall never die. What is it like to be one with this primal awareness that always was, is, and will be, and is whole and healthy and beautiful and magical and sublime at the same time? The glacier begins to melt the moment we ask, if I can observe it, is this me? Is this confusion me? Is this pain me? That question alone cracks the first layer of ice. But just as that first glacier begins to soften, another one appears. This one is sharper, louder, more convincing, has an opinion, because this is the glacier of our own ego called Asmitā. Asmitā says, I am the teacher, I am the doer, I am the one who was betrayed, I am the one who must be seen, vindicated, recognized, validated, loved, hugged, or else I will have a temper tantrum. Indeed, ego is when we confuse the seer with the instruments of seeing. Asmitā, the ego, freezes us in roles, spiritual or worldly. After all, the ego is the firstborn of Avidyā. There was ignorance and existential confusion to begin with. So Asmitā is just a couple of those confusing, bewildering ideas wrapped up into an identity. What more can we expect from Asmitā? It has forgotten that the self is not a role, not a worldly identity with its limitations. It is pure presence, ever free. I had fallen into a habit, or rather my Asmitā had fallen into a habit of clinging into goodness. But seeing that I am not that freed me. It melted me. And I cried, not from sadness, but from freedom. The glacier had cracked. Now you can count on me for being authentic. I'm not wed to being good or bad, ugly or lovely. I am the self, more and more, just as I am. The Asmitā does take credit, does it not? And takes offense and takes everything personally. It says, I am the savior. I am the one that was betrayed. It keeps its story close to itself, does it not? But then the true I, the self, is witnessing the Asmitā. And as the Asmitā is witnessed more and more, it slowly dissolves. Because true yoga reveals you are never the ego. You are always the self. What a relief. Now let's talk about two glaciers that often partner together. One pulls, one pushes. Both keep the ego stuck. And definitely both keep the self concealed. The third glacier is the glacier of grasping. Rāga means to grasp, to be attached. Rāga means to insist, to depend upon too much. And Rāga is definitely an attachment to things going your way and a preference for more pleasure than less. Bring it on. Sensual pleasure, emotional pleasure, social pleasure. Rāga is the kind of attachment that metaphorically blinds us to how much is enough, what is appropriate, and when should we walk away. This glacier insists and convinces the ego, you want this high, you want this good feel, you must get this approval. You must get your old life back, but every want becomes a chain for the ego. This glacier melts not through denial, but through the recognition of inner enoughness, through seeing that we were chasing what we already are. I talk about this a lot in my book, Sovereign Self. When I stopped chasing peak experiences and began resting in silence, this glacier began to melt. And as it melted, what was revealed was that I'm already full from within. I began to touch and experience and enjoy and be blessed by my own self. The union with the self, the promise of yoga was coming true. The fourth glacier is the glacier of aversion. If Rāga is grasping, then Dveṣa is resisting. No, I don't want that. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to deal with that. I hate that and I cannot forgive that and I must not have to put up with that. It's a resistance that is an insistence on its own. It comes with the same intensity as Rāga. When Rāga says, I want, Dveṣa says, I don't want, and the ego stays right in the middle, trying to control its life and its perfect arithmetic of Rāga and Dveṣa. We are so distracted from our true self, aren't we? I had a memory, sharp, painful, that would visit me often. Often I would experience Dveṣa. I would distract myself also until I used this knowledge and I sat with it, faced it, named it. And with the power of myself, when I faced it, that memory could no longer scare me, spook me, diminish me. It started to melt already. Where there is Rāga, attachment, there is Dveṣa, avoidance, resistance, rejection, hatred. But in pushing life away or pulling life in at any cost, we fracture our reality. We give away our power. The yoga of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, from the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads invites us to let go of these twin glaciers and be okay with what is. A lot of these teachings I provide the how-tos when I teach Karma Yoga also, and Bhakti Yoga, which helps us be okay with what is being unfolded. A rose comes not just with a beautiful, gorgeous flower, but with thorns. And when we start accepting the roses in our life with the thorns, we start receiving special gifts. The thorn is not random. It's part of this intelligent universe and its intelligent design. Everything comes to us for a reason. And through knowledge of the real yoga, eventually the glacier softens. But then there is the final glacier, the one that even the wise often carry, the fear of letting go. Abhiniveśa is the glacier of fear. This is the deepest, the oldest, the hardest to name. In the Yoga Sutras, we come to know about it as being the most tenacious klesha. It's not just the fear of physical death as it is defined. Definitely the ego does not want to die. It does not realize that the self is eternal life. It's immortal. It doesn't know that. But besides the fear of death, there is the fear of surrender, fear of losing control. It thinks, if I let go, who will I be? If I stop managing, controlling everything, everyone, will I disappear? If I stop mattering, is that death? But true yoga answers, you won't disappear. You'll disappear to reappear as the magnificent self. You'll dissolve into truth. If you are the shadow today, you will come back as the light. I faced this glacier more than once. Each time I let go of some old image or plan or dream, something beautiful arises, not loss, but magnificence, with liberation and inner freedom. The fear of death clings to all, even the wise. But I say to you, be the self, not the little self that you must protect, but the radiant one you forgot. This is not a fear to be fought, but a fear to be held in the arms of the infinite. Oh, beloved listener, these 5 glaciers are not demons. They are part of our inner climate. They must melt with yogic knowledge. And true yoga will help you melt these glaciers so that you begin thawing what's not working for you, so that your true self begins flowing through you. And if you enjoyed this knowledge and already you feel a little more liberated, and you are ready to continue melting these glaciers with companionship, with clarity, and with these deep teachings, then come study with me. The Vedic Study Circle is open to all sincere seekers, and you shall find the link on my website, acharyashunya.com. I guess for today, that is enough. Because yoga does not demand that you fix yourself. It asks only that you are willing to flow again and open to yogic wisdom. Dear listener, may you flow once again from glacier to river, from fear to freedom, from shadow to self. Until next time, this is your host, Acharya Shunya.
If you loved this episode, there's a way to show your love. Just go to acharyashunya.com and make a donation to support the production of this podcast. You can also rate, review, and share this episode with others, live on YouTube every month. Browse her online wisdom school for her latest course offerings, and thanks for listening.